Hey everybody, David Franzen here this evening. How's everybody doing? Wanted to pop on here real quick tonight because I was watching a short video today that reminded me about something. And as you'll notice, the title of this video is Motivational Steps Raising the Stakes. So that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about. And it brings me back to a couple of years ago. Well, actually, about a year and a half ago, I was at a mastermind event for my online marketing company, and I heard a speaker on stage say something, and I had never really heard it before. If I had heard it before, for some reason it didn't hit home, but for some reason when he said it this time, it resonated with me. And the thing he said was this. He said, the reason most people never make it, the reason most people never see the changes in their life that they're looking for, or the better life, a life of more abundance, of more wealth, of more prosperity that they're looking for, the reason they never see that is because we're just comfortable enough. We're just comfortable enough, meaning we may be working a job, we may be having some money coming in from the state or from somewhere, and we've got a roof over our heads, we've got food in our belly. So even though we think, hey, it'd be nice to have something more, or I desire something more, we're just comfortable enough in our current situation and circumstances being what they are that we're not motivated enough to take action on making our dreams a reality. We could come home from work, we've got enough money to pay the bills, we could get our dinner, watch some TV, go to bed, next day wake up, complain about how we wish we had more, how we wish things were better, but then when it comes time to get cracking and actually doing the work and finding the motivation to follow through with our action steps that we need to take, most people won't do that because they're just comfortable enough. So that's the first thing. You have to be aware of this. That's the first step in curing it, is to be aware of it. Be aware of your situation and do what you have to do to raise the stakes. It's interesting how you will hear stories of most people that are rags to riches, or most people that make it, they were at the bottom. They were at the bottom of the barrel, kicked to the curb at the very lowest point of their lives, and because they were in such desperate measures, they then took massive action to overcome their obstacles and start living a life of their dreams. And they were willing to put in that work to do that because they had no other choice. They had no other option, because the other option is being without food, clothing, and shelter on the streets, possibly dying. So those people are motivated to take action. And I realized for me, that was a big, big thing, because for years I had been trying to make money online, and I had tried to be successful in many things, and I never could. I never got ahead. And when that speaker at that event mentioned that, it really made me aware of the necessity to raise my stakes and make things more desperate, whether it just be in my mind or in reality. If you can't do it in reality, I'm not saying go out and quit your job to where you're so desperate that you just have to make money online, or you have to make money some way, so you're going to fight for it. Although I have known people that have done that. I didn't do that because I have children, I want to provide their health insurance, which I have through my job and that sort of thing. And so I still work at my job, a couple days a week, so I could provide health insurance at a lower cost for my children. But what I did do is I started reminding myself of how tentative my job was. And because I'm a performer at Universal Studios, or at least I was until a few months ago. And every year we have to re-audition for our jobs. And so at any given time, if you're getting a little bit older, the show runs its course or whatever, you may be phased out. And that could be it for you, and they only have to renew you for a year at a time. And it's funny I say that because I did lose my job just a few months ago. I had been performing for 23 years at Universal, and my show Terminator closed. I played the T-1000, just in case you were interested, in the Terminator show here at Universal in Orlando. And that show closed. And since then, I haven't been able to find another performing role at Universal. I still work there a couple days a week, like I said, to keep my health insurance, but I work in a non-performing role. And fortunately, I make enough money online now that it supplements my income. So getting back to the story about motivation and raising your stakes, this is what I'm saying. What I did is I kept playing that recording over in my head again. David, one day you may not have this cushy job. One day when the yearly auditions come up, they may not renew you. And you either go from a place of pleasure or a place of pain. And for me, pain was a stronger motivation. Yeah, I could think of pleasure of like, oh, I'd like to, have more money and more time freedom so I could play more golf, spend more time with my kids, travel more exclusively. But that seemed more like a fantasy and not reality. But when I thought of the reality of my situation, that I could lose my job at any time, that was the pain that reminded me that I need to get my butt in gear and take some positive actions to make the life that I want a better life for me and my family. So that's what I did. And when I started doing that, got out of that just comfortable enough frame of mind, I started taking more action. I started doing more of the things that I needed to do to be successful. I started being more disciplined with my time. And this is what I tell people all the time. When I saw the change in struggling online for 5 or 6 years, not making any money, and then to the year where I made my first 5 figures and, close to my first year of 6 figures, it was that little shift. It was just having the discipline to take a little more consistent action. The two things I did differently when I started being successful, and this is really not the point of this video, but just to get it across to you, is I started taking more consistent action. I wasn't putting in 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day like some people do. I was working a full-time job at the time. I really couldn't do that. But I would take action every day. Each day I would spend 1 to 2 hours working on my online business, taking some kind of action that would take me closer to my goals. And the other thing was I stuck with one thing. I didn't get tempted by the bright, shiny object of trying this opportunity and then the next opportunity and never giving anything a chance. I stuck with the one thing that I believed in, the opportunity that I believed in, and I made it happen. So just a couple more points on that, of some ideas that you can take to raise your stakes or raise the stakes. Just for example, there's this guy from Australia, and he's a very successful entrepreneur. And 2 things he did that shifted the momentum in his business and helped him be more successful is, the first thing he did is he was on a sort of welfare from the state. In Australia, they have something that's sort of similar to welfare in the United States. He was a poor student at the time, so he was giving a stipend of $400 every couple weeks to live on. And so he said as long as he was getting that $400 every 2 weeks, he was a little bit lazy in pursuing his online marketing. So because he knew he had food and shelter, he had that money to pay for his food and shelter. So the first thing he did is he went down to the State Department and he said, I want you to take me off of this. I want you to not pay me the $400 every 2 weeks. Just don't do it anymore. So that put a little pressure on him. He knew that from that point forward, if he wanted to have food, clothing, and shelter, he needed to make his online business work. He had to bring in some sales, bring in some money so he could make that happen. So that's a pretty drastic and bold action, but it's something that helped him raise the stakes. And that's what this video is about: raising your stakes, giving yourself the steps for proper motivation that you need to take action. The other thing he did was he rented an office. And I think he said at the time he was only making about $1,000 a month from his online business. He went down and he rented some office space for $700 a month. So he had enough money in his bank account to pay for the first, couple, 3 months. But then after that, he knew if I'm not making at least $1,000 per month, I can't even afford my office space, let alone food, clothing, and shelter. And the other thing that did is it gave him a place of solitude to work. You know, too often if you're trying to work from your home, in your home office or whatever, and I still do that, I'm guilty of it. I don't have a separate office, but I'm still able to not get distracted by outside things like the TV and the Facebook and the phone and things like that. But what that allowed him to do with the office is he would leave his apartment, he would go to the office, and when he was at that office for those few hours a day, he knew he was there to work. And so he worked and he took action. And by doing the combination of those two things, that's how he raised his stakes. So whatever you have to do to raise your stakes and to get you out of your comfort zone to where you're not too comfortable. And like I said, it doesn't have to be taking necessarily action like quitting your job or giving all your money away to charity, although that would be a very kind and giving thing to do. In your mind, somehow you have to create enough intensity with either your pleasure or your pain principle. You know, make that so strong, involve your senses, involve your emotions, really, you know, check your emotions. If you want to use pleasure, how would this feel to be able to travel? How would this feel to be able to have the free time to spend with my family and my loved ones and hold them near and dear to me? So if that's what your strong motivation is, really get emotionally in touch with that. If it's pain, whereas mine was like the pain and the fear of losing my job, which became a reality, unfortunately, that can be strong enough. So those are just my suggestions. That's what it's all about. Sometimes you have to raise the stakes, and that was my core message I wanted to get across tonight, is if you're not taking action, if you're not feeling motivated to go forward in your business, in your success, and make these things a reality for you, you might take a look at these two things. One, am I too comfortable? Am I just comfortable enough that I'm too lazy to get off my ass and take action? Or number two, do I need to raise the stakes? Do I need to maybe give up this job that's not paying me shit anyway, and really put the pressure on? Or, you know, whatever it takes, you know, the fear of not being able to provide for yourself or your family in your golden years, especially some of you folks that may be a little bit older like me, that, you know, your 401k or lack of 401k or whatever savings plan you have, that's not going to be enough, especially if the government keeps, you know, spending money, and, you know, we may not have Social Security, you know, when we get to retirement age anyway. But whatever it takes, that fear or the pleasure of seeking something greater in your life, raise the stakes, take the steps to motivate yourself, get out of your comfort zone, and make it happen. And then do the other two things I suggested. Take consistent action every day, 5-6 days a week anyway. You know, give a day off every now and then to refuel, recharge yourself. And then just stick with one thing. Be consistent and stick with one thing. Don't be jumping all over the place. Find a product, a company that you believe in, and then just learn how to promote. Learn how to bring traffic in. Learn how to promote the opportunity, and eventually you do that on a consistent enough level, you'll start making money and you'll start living the life that you want to live and have the things that you want to have. Thank you for your time. If you've got any value from this video at all, please feel free to like, comment, or share. Click on the link below if you like what I'm about or you feel my message. If you want to join my opportunity, see what we're about, feel free to click on the link below, explore that a little bit further. If you don't, that's fine. I am about giving value, and that's what I want to do. If you choose to join me, fantastic. If not, I wish you the best in all your endeavors. That's it. I'm out. Thank you for your time. David Franzen, davidmfranzen.com. Take care.